Hi, this is Terry coming to you with Total Life Pursuit Relationship Teaching number 3. El número 3. I want to talk to you today about mediocre love. You know, kind of my whole thing is why be mediocre, right? Why settle for ordinary? There's this song by Sade that I loved when, well, I wasn't young, but a long time ago. And it's called No Ordinary Love. Why would we want to have ordinary love? Hey, if you could just give me some ordinary love, I'd appreciate that. God doesn't have ordinary love. He has extraordinary love. So I'm thinking that we shouldn't settle for mediocre love. Does that make sense? There's a story I want to start with. It's a legend, a Hebrew legend. 2 brothers lived side by side in adjoining lands. One had a large family and the other lived alone. One night, the former lay awake and thought, my brother lives alone. He doesn't have a companionship of a wife and children. So to cheer his heart, I know, while he sleeps, I'm going to carry some of my sheaves into his field. At the same hour, the other brother reasoned, my brother has a large family, and his necessities are so much greater than mine. So as he sleeps, I'll put some of my sheaves in his field. Thus, the 2 brothers went out, carrying out their purposes, and each had their sheaves, and they met at the dividing line of their property. That's pretty cool love right there. Wouldn't you like to have a brother, a friend, a spouse, a son, a parent, anybody like that in your life? I would. Let me just tell you about what love isn't. Can I go through a little list? Love isn't impatient. Love isn't cruel. Love is not envious. Love is not rude. Love isn't self-promoting. Love isn't self-seeking. Love is not demanding or snappy. Love does not keep the wrongs in a file for future use. Love doesn't celebrate when people get what they deserve. Love doesn't give up easy. Love doesn't give second chances. Let me say that again. What love isn't is something that gives second chances. Boy, I wrote that wrong. Hello, somebody. Somebody rewrite my notes for me. Love sees bad things in your future. No, it doesn't. That's not what love is. We're doing what love isn't. Are you with me? And it keeps you as you always were, and it never lets you down. That's fake love. It's like fake love. So what's mediocre love? Because I have a feeling that's where most people live, right? It's patient sometimes. Sometimes it's patient. It's mostly kind and nice. I'm mostly nice and kind, and I'm courteous. I'm very courteous. I say hi. When I'm spoken to, I say hello. Yeah, that's what I do. That's nice. Mediocre love gives when it's convenient, when I have a few extra bucks and it's not bothersome to me, then I'll give things up. Love needs to be right. Mediocre love needs to be right only when the person is right. When I'm right, then I'm going to demand that I'm right. You know what I'm saying? Mediocre love doesn't usually bring up old mistakes. Maybe every once in a while, but not usually. Mediocre love likes when people prosper. I think you can like that. You can like that. Mediocre love gets upset and disconnects only for a little while. And then it comes back after things blow over. When things blow over, then you just get back together and reconnect as friends or as a couple or as, whatever. You just reconnect. Are you getting this? And mediocre love encourages, but doesn't really believe that the person will succeed. Hey, you could do it. Yeah. They'll never do that. They're not going to do that. That's kind of mediocre love. And I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. I'm trying to help you evaluate to see if that's where you're at. And if you've settled there. Real love, taken from the Bible, New Living Translation, 1 Corinthians 13. You knew I was going there. Love is patient, love is kind, love is not jealous, or boastful, or proud, or rude. It does not demand its own way. It's not irritable. It keeps no record of being wronged. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices when the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. Notice it's hopeful and faith-filled and endurance. It's not just endurance. Because sometimes I think, well, I'm enduring it. Do you see the light at the end of the tunnel? Nope. Is it love then? Let me read it to you out of the Message. I love how Eugene Peterson puts it. Love never gives up. Love cares more for others than for themselves, than for self. Love does not want what it doesn't have. Love doesn't strut. It doesn't have a swelled head. It doesn't force itself on others. Isn't always me first. It doesn't fly off the handle. I like that. Love doesn't keep score of the sins of others. Doesn't revel when others grovel. Takes pleasure in the flowering of truth. It puts up with anything. It trusts God always. Always looks for the best. Never looks back, but keeps going to the end. It's pretty good, isn't it? So where do you sit on that? If you put someone's name instead of love in there, how would you be doing? I'm just giving you a second to think about it. Because sometimes I think we hear a teaching on this and we just move on like, okay, yeah, good point. Yeah, what's next? That's not what this is about. That's not what I'm about. I want you to look at it. As I wrote this, I looked at it. I'm like, oh man, I've got a ways to go. And most people can admit I've got a ways to go, but can you admit where you're at in the process? Can you admit this very important fact? If you've settled in the process and that's all you're going to do, that's all you're going to go. Because what I think most people suffer with is they suffer with mediocre love that they've settled for. And that's the problem. You don't have to have it perfect. I mean, who has it all perfect? Who can love perfectly? I mean, Jesus. But besides Jesus, who can love perfectly? I don't know that any of us can say, oh, I totally got that. I put my wife Laura's name in there. Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, I put my name in there. Terry's patient. Terry's kind. Terry's never, ever brings up anything from the past, even in his head during an argument. The problem is when we bring up something from the past and then we excuse it away like, well, I'm only human. That's the problem. That's a problem because we'll never get to the great love that God has for us. Are you with me? Now, don't feel condemned. Feel hopeful. You will by the end of this for sure. So I just say, let's go after God's love because God is love. His love is perfect. And He designed us in His image. In fact, if you're a Christian, if you have given your life to Jesus and He has, according to His word, put His Spirit in you, you have His love. How about getting this stuff out of the way so His love can flow? So the biggest thing, there's a lot of things, but I just want to talk about one of the biggest things to get out of the way so you can get God's love burning intensely for other people, even the difficult to love, is forgiveness. Forgiveness is tough. When someone's done you wrong, it's tough to forgive. I mean, it really is. How many times do I have to forgive, Terry? Well, I think someone asked Jesus that. And He said, depending on how you want to interpret it, 49 or 490, a lot. In other words, you're not going to keep track. So many times. But they did say, if they come to you and ask for forgiveness. That's the word. Because I can forgive someone who's wronged me in my heart and release them from it. Really, I'm releasing me, right? Because unforgiveness is like drinking the poison and hoping they die. So I can release them, but we can't have connection. We can't have the attachment that we had unless they come and ask me for forgiveness. Or we talk about it. They don't necessarily have to ask me. Everyone has a different language for forgiveness. Mine is, I was wrong. You don't even have to ask me. I just want to hear you say, I was wrong. That's all that's needed. And then we're all good. But, hey, I was wrong to gossip behind your back. And then I say, you were wrong. Do 50 burpees. No, I don't say that. I'd like to, though, if I'm honest, 50. 50 is just about the amount of burpees that most people would barf over, so I just figured that would be fun to watch if that person gossiped. So I'm just kidding. Relax, people. Relax. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 31. Get rid of all bitterness, rage, anger, brawling, slander, along with every form of malice, which means intent to do harm. And be kind, verse 32, and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as Christ in God forgave you. Man, so get rid of intense anger that begets an outburst. Don't shout at each other. Get rid of insulting one another. Get rid of hostility or strong dislike towards one another. And listen to this. I love this. Get rid of the bitter taste that you have for another person. You know what that means? That means get rid of the offense. When it says get rid of the bitterness, that bitter taste, when you see that person, they walk into the room, you're like, no, I totally forgave them. They walk into the room and you're like, oh man, I hope they don't come and talk to me. I don't think you've forgiven them. I don't think you've rid yourself, because there's still that aftertaste of whatever happened between you that is there. It is difficult. I'm not saying it's easy, but we have the power to do it. And to think that we don't have the power to do it is to undermine what God has given us, the power to forgive. I mean, Jesus said it to the disciples in such a strong way. And we have this power within us to forgive. And when we forgive, guess what? Good things happen. Good things happen between us. Between people, good things happen in the community, by the way. Not just between the two people because the two people who are in a community who have bitterness towards one another or one toward another and won't let go, poison the whole community. That's just what happens. It's how it is. It's like a weed. A weed spawns little seeds and all of a sudden your whole garden has weeds in it. So get rid of the bitter taste that a person leaves in your mouth and stop being so offended. John Bevere wrote this book I read years ago. It's such a good book. I probably should read it again. But it's The Bait of Satan. And it just talks about being offended, how easily we're offended. Man, and today he wrote it, 10, 15 years ago. How easily offended do we get now? I mean, someone has a different political opinion and we are ready to string them up. You don't vaccinate, you vaccinate, you're a left winger, you're a right winger, you want people to come over, you don't want to build a wall, you want to build a wall, you want abortion to be, all 9 months, you don't want any abortion, And all of a sudden, instead of having a different of opinion and being able to talk about it, we hate one another. That's offense. That's offense. Now, I'm not saying if someone comes to you and says, hey, Terry, yeah, I noticed you've been working out. Yeah, keep trying because you just don't look good. I got to tell you, that I would be offended. And then I have the opportunity to release it or embrace it. That's my power. Nobody has that power on me. That's my power. So I can just say, that person's an idiot. No, don't say that. That's bad. Bitter taste in your mouth? Yeah, don't do that. I would just think, wow, that's an interesting opinion. Okay, I would think they're a little psychotic because I work out hard. I got a pretty good physique. I noticed that would be easy for me to just release. You know why? Because I know it's not true. Maybe the things that someone says about you that upset you, you're not sure are untrue. The things that people say to me that are true about me, those are the ones that sting. Those are the ones that are hard to just release. But I got to release it. You got to release it. What are you holding on to right now? Just release it. Just say, I'm just not going to let them offend me. Don't give the power over to them to name you. Okay? So, it says, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. These aren't laws. I'll get to that in a second. It says, but become. In other words, do things that will benefit each other. Forgive. Charizomai. Forgive on the basis of one's gracious attitude towards another individual. Notice it didn't mean the dictionary, the lexicon definition wasn't forgive them because they deserve it. Forgive them because they asked to be forgiven. It didn't say that. It said because you have a gracious attitude. In other words, you have an undeserved favor attitude towards that person. So, how about the fact that it just told us how to love? That's what that thing was about. Sometimes we take verses like this, and it says, get rid of bitterness, get rid of rage, get rid of anger, get rid of brawling, get rid of slander, get rid of malice. It says, get rid of all these things and do this. Be kind and compassionate. Forgive each other. And we take it like, well, that's a command of God. I want you to think of it like this. This is who you are, and this is the operation manual. So, in other words, you are meant to be kind and compassionate. You're not meant to have malice and bitterness. This just tells us this is how we are. And if we want to operate optimally, this is how we operate optimally. In fact, if the community is going to operate optimally, then we all operate like this. So, if you're a Christian and you're listening to, wait. Let me back up. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 12. I love this verse. Hatred stirs up dissension, but love covers over all wrong. By the way, I looked that word up, all, in the Hebrew. It's there. Do you know what it means? All. Love covers over all wrongs. Let me say it again. Love covers over all wrongs. But you don't understand what they did. I was molested. Love covers over all wrongs. What? Did you just tell people to forgive their molester? I did. You know why? Because we're not created to be like that. It messes us up. Bitterness, unforgiveness, hatred, it messes us up. So the fact of it is, love covers over all wrongs. Now let's take it out of the extreme cases that are difficult. I get it. I get that it's tough. Maybe more than you think that I get that it's tough to forgive them. But I do get it. And it is tough to forgive people that have harmed you. I get it. But the reality is, those are the tough cases. Those are the not once in a lifetime, but there's not many of those. We live in this other world where people just mildly offend us. Those are the ones love covers over. Love covers over those. Love covers over. The fundamental idea of the root of this is the idea is a breach of relationships. In other words, the offenses, someone breached the relationship, and love covers over that. Okay, so if you're a Christian, let me end with this because I'm going to tell you about who you are. Is that right? I'm just going to tell you who you are. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 22. Now that you have purified yourself by obeying the truth, so that you have sincere love for your brothers, love one another deeply from the heart, for you have been born again, not of perishable seed, but of imperishable, through the living and enduring Word of God. Let me tell you about who you are. You have gotten rid of ungodly, worldly thinking and attitudes because your souls have been purified. That junk that came from your upbringing, that junk that came from your past, you've gotten rid of that. Now, I know that you're saying, no, I haven't gotten rid of it all. But you're on your way to get rid of it. See, the Bible has this weird way of talking like it's true now and it will be true and you're working through a process to get it to be true. It's like sanctification. Sanctification is we have been made holy and we are being made holy. So it's both of them together. So we don't have to look at ourselves like, man, I'm a failure because I'm not like that. I haven't gotten rid of all of that things. But our problem is that we accept the humanity of not being rid of all of it as normal. And I'm here to tell you that's not normal. Get rid of it. Just get rid of it. Okay? So when you do that, when you get rid of that stuff, check it out. You'll have brotherly love. The unhypocritical, genuine love for each other. You will unconditionally love one another eagerly, intensely, and unceasingly. Can you imagine that kind of love? Well, you probably can because you've probably had it in your life one way or another. I know for me, I have it like that towards my kids. I don't care what they do. I'm going to love them intensely. Oh, they can make me mad. Oh, my kids can push buttons. My wife, my kids, they're the best button pushers in my life. Will I ever not love them? No. I'll always love them. And the funny thing is, I love Laura, my wife, more intensely than I love my children. There's no doubt about that. I think because there's different facets or different sides to that love with the romance built into it. And the kids, obviously, I don't have romantic love for the kids. I have this family love, though, that they're part of me. And I could never think about disowning them or not loving them. The reality is, we know this love. We do know it. If we would just allow it to permeate our being, because it's already in there. When we got born again, God put it in there. It's not like we need a whole more helping. We need to release what we already have. So, you are not people who hold wrongs. That's not who you are. You just don't do that. You don't hold the wrongs. You are people that desire, that's deepest desire is to believe the best for other people. You are people that love and it naturally flows from you. You don't have to muster it up. Oh, I gotta go love it. You just love. It just flows from you. It comes natural. You have understanding about these things. You have compassion. They're new every single morning. You have new compassions every day for people. And they don't fail. The compassions never fail. We have mercy on people because we have compassion on the people. We identify with their weaknesses. And we're like, oh man, and we want to encourage them. Because Jesus, who lives inside of you, is flowing with that type of unconditional love, compassion, and mercy. And you will not stop it anymore. You're just going to let the flow of God's love flow out of you because that's who you are. Why not? It's going to be better anyways. Who wouldn't want to be around a person like that? I tell you, I would. I want to be that kind of person. And I hope you do too. I hope this was helpful for you. Hope it was thoughtful for you. Go spend some time in prayer. I think it's a good moment to spend a little time in prayer. This is Terry with Total Life Pursuit. Thanks for listening. See you.